Okay, we're out here at one of our commercial properties. I'm going to walk you through what you need to know the first time you step onto any commercial property so that you can fully communicate to a property manager or to anyone else that you know what you're talking about. Flipping this around. Okay, when you walk into a commercial property, here's one of our nice properties. It's a luxury apartment building. You can see the pool. The spa is down for repair. Doesn't matter, we'll get to that. This is the pool equipment room. This is pretty much a typical setup. You will see right here, a vac pack is what they call it. This houses the pool equipment. Let's walk in. So here's the main tank. Water will always flow into the main collection tank first from any commercial pool. You will always see a tank here for a commercial pool. You don't have this for residential. Always start here. Again, as I said, water flows into here first. How does it come in? Again, we have gutter slash skimmer, and then the main drain. Main drain is also at the bottom of the pool. It's the cover and the drain at the bottom of the pool. It flows from the bottom, goes into here, but it also comes from the top too. And again, this is all just gravity. It just all flows in. This is why they call these gravity valves, the gravity valves. You open these and you close these. You would open them and close them when you want to clean the pit here, and we're going to go over that. So again, water flows into here. Also critical to note, the water level in here, when these are fully open, will equal the water level of the pool. Water finds its own level. So the water level here is the same as the water level at the pool, okay? We got a couple components here. Again, main drain lines. These are called the gravity valves. They're what let the water in. They're open now, so water's coming in, okay? What happens is once it's in the tank, it first gets cleaned by the filters. These are filters right here, okay? What's going on is that the pumps over here, and we'll get there eventually, the pumps are pulling the water in. They're pulling the water, right? Water comes in here through the pool, through these the gravity tanks, sits in here, but you can't tell, because it's always on a loop and a circuit, it's being pulled through the pipe here. So, listen closely. These are filters. These are the filters that filter the water. They filter out all the microscopic bacteria. These are called DE filters. They're the most efficient and effective filters. There are 3 different types of filters. There is DE, there is sand, and then there's cartridge. You can use any one of them, it doesn't matter, but these are the most effective. These are the most common ones you'll see at all the commercial pools that are like this. So these are the grids, and literally water passes through the grids on both sides, right? And they're coated in the DE chemicals. So you see all the stuff on it, all that gray stuff, that's the DE powder. The powder gets dumped on top of this like that, okay? Most people step into a commercial pump room and they are completely lost. They have no idea what's going on. It looks like the inside of the Titanic. It takes an engineer to understand these systems. That's where I come in. My name is Nelson Alvarez. I'm a licensed commercial pool contractor and CPO certified. I manage 70 properties across Orlando, from resorts, HOAs, apartments, and hotels. I'm going to teach you everything I learned. So again, powder gets dumped on top, right? Water comes in. Remember, it's pulling the water through those pipes. There's 2 sets here for this pool. That's a pretty good size. You want a lot of filtration, right? Now, how does it get through? So you can't see it, but directly underneath each filter is a hole, right, spaced. The filters sit over the hole, right? So water is sucked in through the filters, through them, passes through them, gets sucked into the pipes, both pipes, right? This water then travels. Follow me. We're going to go over here. The water then travels as it's pulling up through the motor. Here is where it comes out. Now we get to the motor section. You want to get into the pool business? Then you need to hear this. Most people in the pool industry have no idea what they're doing. Very few people are certified contractors. Very few people even know pools altogether. And CPO classes, they are useless. They are nothing but theory, and you get read a slide deck. It does not help prepare you for what's actually out there. Remember, listen to me. Main pool, spa. We're not going to worry about the spa for now. Main pool is the main drain at the bottom. Water is being pulled through there, and the skimmer's at the top, which pulls the top of the water. 70% of the pull of the water is coming from the top. I want you to remember that. Why? The top is where the bacteria lives, so you're always pulling 70% of the water from the top of the pool, not the bottom of the pool. But does everybody understand that? Water comes in from where? From the main drain and the gutter. That's the first thing that happens. What was the thing I want to quiz you on? 70% of the water that is filtered that coming through comes from the skimmer, from the top of the pool, because that's where the bacteria sits. The other 30% of the water that you're pulling in comes from the main drain. The top gutters always pull more water. Remember that, because that's where the bacteria lives, on the surface of the water, not below it. Coming back to our surge tank, remember this is step 1. Water comes in through the main drain, through the gutter, okay? It passes through the filtration. These are the DE filter, diatomaceous earth filters. Right? The water is sucked through the pipes here. You will see this on every single setup. This is the autofill. This controls the level of the water. Remember, you lose 1/4 of an inch a day of water due to evaporation, but there's also leaks and things like that. This is connected to the autofill here. So here's the autofill, right? Once the water gets below a certain level, it fires the autofill and the water gets added automatically. If the water gets too high, for instance, too much rain, this will trip and it will shut off the water so that nothing is added. That's what they call it, the autofill. We'll go over that in a separate course. I want to introduce you to the components that every single commercial pool will have. Always start here in the surge tank. Water comes in through here, main drain gutter, 70% from the gutter, 30% from the main drain. Passes through the DE filters. There are holes underneath each of the grids. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Call it 12 holes right directly underneath the grid. Okay? They pass through there. The DE, the diatomaceous earth, it cleanses the water. It filters the water. Passes through there. Okay, that's the tank. Again, our autofill keeps the water level, right? Once it gets too low, the autofill function will trip, turn the water on automatically. If it gets too high, it'll shut it off. Right now the water is not running because it's at the perfect level, right? Again, you have to calibrate and set these for the level you want it at. We'll go over that in a separate course. Again, starting at the surge tank, we're moving this way. We follow the pipes. See, remember the pipes now, the next step after you go through the DE filters is you're gonna go to the motor and the pump, the main pump. So remember, this is where all the dirt and debris is caught. Remember, you got stuff on the top of the pool. You can see some beetles in there and debris that all gets sucked in from the pool, right? Because it comes through the drains. Stays in here, and this is when we'll clean the tank out. We'll do a whole video on cleaning this out to make sure it doesn't get clogged up. But this is where the majority of the big debris is caught. Okay, sometimes stuff sneaks through. It happens. The grids fall out of place. But we caught the big debris, okay? We went through the filtration. We filtered out the tiny little particles, all the bacteria. Now we go to the next step. It comes out of the ground here, and this is why you need a little map, and we'll make one. But I want you to remember, water always flows into the basket first. This is the suction side. This is the pressure side. Water sucked in through here and pushed out the top. You'll pretty much see this at every single pump. Water will come in horizontally and it'll shoot out back to the pool vertically. Some pools have 3 motors, some pools have 1 motor. It depends on the size of the pool and the gallons. These motors are working well, okay? How do we know? There's barely any bubbles on the top. That's how you can tell, okay? If this was low, if there were a ton of bubbles at the top, we know we have a problem. We know we have a leak somewhere, and that affects the performance of the pool, and it will burn out the motor. This is a well-run machine. There are no leaks. Also, if the filters are dirty, you'll see a ton of bubbles at the top because it's just sucking more air. This side, you can't see any bubbles. It's running perfectly, not a single bubble. It's absolutely a beautifully run pool. It's beautifully maintained. You do not want to see a lot of bubbles, okay? We'll go over how to maintain those. Remember, the water comes in through here, and there's a basket in here. You can't see. I'm going to show you real quick. There's a basket in here that catches any final debris. You'll typically find leaves in there, shit like that, or other little particles. That's the final stop, so it's like the last fail-safe. Remember, starts in the tank, gets debris, gets filtered out. Anything that gets past gets sucked into the basket here. We empty these out pretty frequently. We'll turn off the pumps, turn off the motors, and we'll empty those out, okay? And clear out the basket, okay? Something we'll go over is the indicators, the pressure side indicators. What's the pressure? The one on the left is broken. We have to repair that. But let's look at the one on the right. You can see the needle's moving. It's about 17, right? We will go over that soon, but you can see the suction. It's sucking at about 17 PSI, okay? What we want to look for, to make sure everything's running smoothly, that's suction side. What is the number on the return side? We're looking at about 15. That's fine. You don't want a difference of more than 10. The critical thing to note is the difference, right? If that says 15 and this said like 40, that means we have a serious problem. That could indicate a few things. It could indicate the filters need to be cleaned. It could indicate that a valve is slightly closed off, right? It could be this here. For instance, this is fully open, but if we closed it a little, the pressure would rise because now water has to go through a smaller entry. This really gives us an indication of what's happening in the entire pool as a whole. So that's your motor. Remember, it always comes in this side. We call it the suction side. Gets sucked in, goes up through here. We're going to return back to the pool. These are check valves. These can shut off, okay? But they're open now. Water is freely flowing. We'll go over that in a bit, okay? And then where does it go? We follow the line. This is a precoat line. We'll go over that. That's for the DE filters. We'll go over that in a bit. But essentially, follow the flow of water. We're following the flow of water. If it turns this way, another check valve to control the flow of water. We go around the corner. This is the most important piece right here. Pay attention, pay attention. This is the flow meter. This indicates the flow of water. We are at about 300 gallons per minute. Ideally, and that red thing bobs up and down. You can see it, the red little thing, it bobs up and down, right? If that's low, that indicates a flow problem. Typically, the filters need to be cleaned, okay? Or a valve is not open fully. You want to see it bursting through the roof, ideally. That indicates good flow. This is the first thing the health inspectors look for when they come to check a property. Is there flow? When I took over, this business was doing $250,000 a year in sales. 10 months later, we're at $1.8 million in revenue. And guess what? You can do it too if you know what you're doing, and the key to success in this industry is simply education and storytelling. That's what I'm going to help you with. I only do commercial pools. I don't do residential pools. The average profit on a pump repair for a commercial pool, $2,000. I do 20 of them a year. That's $40,000 just from one repair alone. And I do so many other repairs, including the maintenance, the cleaning, the chemical testing. Right? This is what you get from the commercial pools. I do not go near residential. The average profit on a residential pool per month is about $15. And the residential people like doing all the repairs themselves. I do not get involved with it. You need about 100 residential pools to make about 50 grand a year. And that's 100 headaches that's driving around all over town. Commercial pools are different. Bigger repairs, bigger invoices, long-term contracts, regulations that the properties must abide by. The property must make these repairs. If you do it right, you can build a commercial pool business with serious leverage because property managers love referring great pool people out there, and there are so few great commercial pool companies out there. Here's the truth though, you will not win these contracts unless you know what you're doing and what you're talking about. That is the most critical part. And the property managers that you have to convince, they can smell BS from a mile away. They want to hear and see and feel your experience and confidence. These flow meters break pretty frequently. Okay, if that red 0 and it was all the way to the bottom, instant closure of the pool. It doesn't even matter if the pool is functioning properly and the water is flowing through and the pressure looks good. If the flow meter is broken, instant closure of the pool. They have the health department they don't want to spend time there. They spend 5 seconds there, right? They'll close the pool. They're not going to check if everything's working. All they look at is the flow meter. So that's how you know you have good flow all around the system. That's really great. There's some other checks and valves indicated there, but we have good flow to this pool. A couple other things we have to go over is the chemicals getting into the pool. You can see right here up top. I'm going to zoom in. This is our computerized chemical reader. We see, I think it's a 7.1, and the ORP is at 775. We're going to go over that in a separate course. Basically, this tells me the pH level of the pool. So the chemical feeder we're going to go over in a different part of the course. There's an entire course dedicated to that. That is a computer. The computers break all the time. They have to be reset. But they basically tell us the pH level of the pool and the effectiveness of the chlorine, which is called the ORP, and that ranges from about 500 to 775. 750 is the ideal range for it. You got to check these daily, and we're going to go over it. Now, let's talk about chemicals for a second. How do the chemicals get into the pool? Right here. See this right here? That's chlorine. Chlorine is getting pumped right into the water before it goes back. Same thing for acid. I believe the acid is on that side. I'll do another diagram a little bit later. You can see all this right here. This is the acid feeders. These are the controls that feed acid to the pool and chlorine. And the computer monitors that. They monitor it. So we're going to go over that soon, right? Whole different lesson, but I want you to see how it flows. Let's go around to the back. Here you've got your acid feeders. These are the acid feeders. Pay attention. Every pool is pretty much going to have this size. You're going to see the setup like this. This one is chlorine. This one's acid. You should have them labeled, but how would I know the difference if I didn't know? See the band in here? It's white. That's chlorine. Acid, it turns the band brown. You see the brown there? That's how you know this is going to be the acid feeder, okay? Here are the lines. We have a whole course on this. These lines get clogged. They don't work, the feeders trip. And again, down here you can see the settings. Sometimes the settings aren't off, like the speed it pushes the chlorine. You can over-chlorinate the pool. You can put too much acid in the pool depending on the rate it's running at. These break all the time. Air gets in them, it gets crusty. You have to check them. We have a whole course on that we're going to go over. Now, that's the overview. Now, some pools have heaters. I'm going to show you that in a minute, right? So these pools have heaters. Heaters are the last stop before it enters the pool, and that makes total sense. So, actually, I can see back here, this is the pipe right here. I'm going to show it here. Try and zoom in. That's where the water is returning to the pool. But before it actually returns to the pool, network of underground pipes takes it and runs it through, and I believe it's the top one, right? The final chlorinated pool water comes through here. This is the pool heater. We've got a whole course on pool heaters. Believe it or not, heaters are super ineffective. They barely work. This is actually a residential heater. It's honestly a waste of money if you tell me, but people want it. They barely work. They break all the time, but it really doesn't do much. They're actually off for the summer. So another critical feature, this needs to be cleaned all the time. How do we clean it? Every pool is going to have a vacuum pump. Right here, this is the vacuum pump. How do you can always tell? They typically look the same, actually. They're pretty black, they're pretty crusty, and you can see it's labeled, right? What do we do when we want to clean this? We clean this about once a week to get rid of all the debris in there, right? We want to get the debris away from the filters, because if the filters are clogged, the motor's going to be really loud and the pressure's going to be high, so we clean them frequently. What happens? What you do is I hope that gave you a good overview of what you can expect from me and how deep we can go into it. If you want to know commercial pools, then you've got to take this course. You will not learn this online. You will not learn this in a CPO course. If you're interested, join the wait list. I'm almost done compiling the course. I want it to be perfect for you guys. This is what you can expect, the quality, the hands-on practicality that you're going to get in this course because there's so much detail to go over. Look forward to seeing you in class.